Hello, this is Thomas Sheltra for Moreland University. And this is Module 39, and today we're going to be looking at Standard 9. Let me just share my screen. Sorry. So here we go, Standard 9. Um, and then here are the artifacts that we'll be looking at. So for this section right here, operations and management, and we look at the element for scheduling, and the guiding questions is how does an effective leader strategically manage staff resources, assigning and scheduling teachers and staff to roles and responsibilities that epitomize their professional capacity to address each student's learning needs. And so here we're going to be looking at, so this is what the example of what our master schedule looks like. And so one of the things that I put here for outstanding is working with my mentor, Mr. Cumberworth. And so I did not create the master schedule. And then here is an example of what a teacher schedule looks like. And I did not create this, but what I did do was because we have our AP review where most teachers need to be done with their content by April 1st is and give us a month to review with students is to create a pre-AP schedule, generally speaking, that starts around after Chinese New Year. And so one of the things that I was able to do with my mentor is that he gave me the responsibility, and of course I collaborated with him in the curriculum department, but to take our master schedule for the upper school. So I blocked out everybody else's names here, but you can see where my AP economics is, and then we also had um, AP classes here. So you can see sort of what this times table looks like. Um, and what I did is you can just see an example of what I highlighted here on the Excel sheet for me and for the history teacher is going through the master schedule and finding places where I could add additional classes for instruction for these teachers. And this was, so this is our third year of doing it, but this was the first year where my principal gave me the responsibility of creating it. And of course, he double checked everything, and I was, really proud of the fact that we only made some minimal adjustments. So I feel like it was something that I did a pretty good job with. And I hope that it's, further responsibilities that I can have down the line. Um, but it's to make sure that we finish the content in time so that way we can give our students optimal time to review and prepare for the AP exams. And again, we're a school that is in China with a US based curriculum. And so, one of the things that we need to make sure we can do with these students who are ELL learners is to make sure that they can prepare for this type of exam. And also, they're doing it at a very young age compared to most US students. So, for instance, with my AP economics students, these are ninth grade students. So they're 14, 15 years old taking an AP exam. Then here you have world history, A push, and then AP Euro. So you have students who are in grades 9, 10, and 11 taking AP exams and expected to get 3 or higher. So there's a lot of efforts that go into that, and part of that is the scheduling part. And so I think that does put me, I would put myself in the outstanding part just because I've had that experience to now do it. Hopefully that responsibility continues. The next thing is management of resources. And so here we're going to look at um, the budgeting that I did, which is to guesstimate budget cuts that could be made. And so if we look here at the rubric, how does an effective leader seek, acquire, and manage fiscal, physical, and other resources to support curriculum, instruction, and assessment, student learning community, professional capacity and community, and family community engagement? And so one of the things that I tried to do was look at areas where we could reduce our funding in our budget and use these resources in a better way, not to limit instruction or the quality of the school, but to try to be um, have things be more sustainable, especially when it comes to things like food waste, when it comes to IT and digital support. So again, um, you not continuously buying new licenses for programs that don't get used, but to try and reduce those amounts to ones that we do use and we use frequently. And I think that that's one area where you can save a lot of money. Um, Again, maintenance and repairs. So we are a very new school, but I think a lot of money can get spent and frankly kind of wasted on cosmetic things that don't need to necessarily be done right away or as frequently. And I think that that's where um, money could be spent a little more wisely. Um, so here was an operating budget with cuts to save money. Um, and then next is a tech audit to see where our inefficiencies are with the technology that we have, looking at the life cycle costs. And this was based on teacher, faculty and staff surveys on where our biggest weaknesses were, what are areas that we can improve on. So for instance, Wi-Fi infrastructure is a big issue. And again, that takes time and money, along with the types of the various tools that we use in the classroom that can be consolidated. Um, and then part of that tech audit was to then kind of create a PD structure where we can help existing teachers and new teachers with the technology that it is that we use, and hopefully can consolidate some of those tools. Um, the other is looking at continuous improvement. So, managing and improving technology. How does an effective leader employ technology to improve the quality and efficiency of the operations and management? So again, that goes into the tech auditing right there. Also, the allocation of resources. So part of this would be for my school improvement plan, um, but where we can spend money to help those areas where we are just a little weak. So especially upgrading the infrastructure for the Wi-Fi. So when we do use technology, it's there for us 24/7. The English language learning sort of getting them, making sure we have the right resources that are available, whether that's additional staff, or the, resources as far as technology or the types of tools that we use in the classroom. Again, making sure that we have consolidated tools that we can use for every student and every teacher in the classroom, and not just various tools that are draining resources. And then part of that also goes into teacher retention, and some of the hiring and retaining teachers. that go into the observation and the mentorship for my priority one. And then the other areas uh, that I want to look at for managing and improving technology. So how does an effective leader employ technology to improve quality and efficiency of operations and management? So again, that's going to go into the tech audit that we have there, allocating the resources, and then based off the operating budget with cuts, those artifacts right there. Um, and then the last part was budgeting and financial planning. So that was how does an effective leader plan and manage the school budget to ensure optimum, equitable use of fiscal resources? So again, that goes into the operating budget here with cuts. But a couple areas that I want to look at is also the recruitment and retention of teachers. And so part of that goes into our financial planning because when we do look at the budget here, um, expat pay tends to be the largest portion of our school budget because of the salaries, the benefits. Also, that goes into that are the sort of the hidden costs, and so that is if you're bringing over a family, you get two children with free tuition. So that those are costs, resources that the school is using, but you're not really seeing sort of that benefit of the pay. So that's money that the school is missing out on to educate children of staff. So we want to so this is going to be a large portion of what our operating budget is. So when we get these teachers, it's making sure that we properly, number one, we recruit them. And so that's going to be the types of recruitment process as far as going to these international fairs in China, outside of China, sort of digital marketing, looking at LinkedIn, so different areas to sort of market towards potential employees. But we want to make sure that we have a process of getting the right teachers into our school. So that way we don't have to take a lot of time to sort of retain them because we're getting the teachers that we want that have the quality that meet the standards that we're looking for. And so, but part of that is the competitive package. And oftentimes like this is a little difficult because priority one was going to be sort of that recruitment and retention idea, but based on conversations that I've had with a lot of teachers and staff, people leave for various reasons. So it really doesn't, there's too many different variables that go into a reason why a teacher is going to stay or leave. And generally, the overall impression that I got from a lot of the teachers that are leaving is it doesn't have anything to do with the school, doesn't have anything to do with the leadership. More, it's, they don't like Wuhan. They'd rather be in a bigger city where there's more things to do. They feel like maybe they've done enough time in China. So like, maybe they've been here for like 8, 10 years and they want to go somewhere else. Um, some teachers are closer to retirement, so they want to go to a country where the retirement age is a little more relaxed, so that way they can work for a few more years. So there's a whole host of reasons why teachers are going to leave, and so therefore my priority changed to more the observation and mentoring and making sure that we can give teachers the tools that they need from that aspect to hopefully feel comfortable in their teaching and wanting to stay. Um, so uh, so that was for that aspect for standard 9. But when we look through again, so at least for the scheduling part, being able to do that AP classroom, that's where I'm going to give myself an outstanding here. The management of resources and give myself proficient here because the money as far as like having that budget, but also the reduction of the cuts to make sure that everything is a little more streamlined and sustainable, and we're not wasting money. And then also utilizing and allocating those resources that go into the school improvement plan priorities. I think that those are pretty good artifacts that showcase the proficient here. And then managing and improving technology. So again, we have that technology audit, and then also going into the budget. So we have those life cycle costs for our iPads, our Huawei laptops. We have, faculty and staff, MacBooks. So all of those things, we're in year three, so obviously, like we have certain technology with life cycle. But I would say that the biggest priority as far as that is making sure that we have Wi-Fi infrastructure and also the types of educational tools or software that's um, going to be able to be used. More than just a few times. So making sure that we streamline the sort of technology that we use as a school. So here I would give myself a proficient for the types of artifacts that I've shown. And then budgeting and financial planning. So again, here here it says 3% set aside, but I'm just gonna say, I have 5%, but here I'm still gonna say proficient, just because it shows areas that we have a little bit of spending that I think is a little wasteful, and therefore I think it could be prioritized a little bit better, and save money on certain things that we don't need to do right now. Um, so again, just kind of going through these with the scheduling, the tech audit, hiring and retaining teachers. So that's going to go into the budget and financial planning. So as far as hiring teachers and using school funds, and then also up here, management of resources. So building a professional learning community. So making sure we have the types of teachers in the classroom. Um, so yeah, those are essentially all of the artifacts I have for Standard 9, outside of the scheduling part, which I think is outstanding, proficient for the rest. So thank you very much.